Very good morning to everyone present here. I am Kaushik, your host for this session. We are gathered today on this virtual platform to welcome Ms. Nidhi Khare, presently Additional Secretary in Department of Consumer Affairs, to our Excel family for a short interactive session. Ms. Nidhi Khare is an administrative officer of 1992 batch from Jharkhand Cadre. She has a vast administrative experience of almost 30 years, having held several important administrative posts such as Administrator of Patna Municipal Corporation and Collector of Jamshedpur, Madhubani and Dumka districts. She has also worked in the sectors of education, labor, health, disability, environment and finance. About 20 years ago, she worked in the sector of sanitation and several panchayats of Jamshedpur to become the first in Jharkhand to receive Nirmal Gram Puraskar award for being open defecation. Presently, as Additional Secretary in Department of Consumer Affairs, she has been instrumental in notifying Protection of Consumer Rights Act and drafting 18 rules and regulations, including those on e-commerce, direct selling, etc. She is the first Chief Commissioner of Central Consumer Protection Authority. Today, she is going to share her thoughts on the topic, a responsive, citizen-centric public administration is the key to success of the modern society. The floor is all yours, ma'am.
There has been, a talk of, say, another class of beneficiaries which has emerged irrespective of their class, caste, sex, or religious identities. And this class of beneficiaries are being now talked about in great detail. And in a way, it has actually made a difference to how the economy or how our democracy has been functioning. And today, if we see that with the use of technology, from the granular effect that Garibi Hatao programs had, or say Bisutri Karikram, I don't know if you all remember or not, you may be too young, or maybe many of you may not have been born. So there was a 20-point program which was to be monitored, but then it was all very granular. Who were the beneficiaries? Nobody knew. So today, with the use of technology, we are able to accurately target the beneficiaries of intended schemes, and we have a better reach out. So before 2014, while we had a very slow, inefficient, and heavy bureaucracy, there was rampant corruption. Every citizen, I mean, I can challenge, nobody could say that I have never, encountered corruption in the system to get my benefits. There was an instance, everybody had to face that kind of petty corruption for getting anything, maybe your ration card, maybe your gas cylinder, your scholarships, your pensions, maybe electricity bill, telephone bills, whatever. So this was the state of affairs. I would say this was prior to 2014. And I think the young generation may not even be aware what was this rampant corruption that I'm talking about, which was so petty in nature. But you had queues, you had pendency, you had to repeatedly go there, you had to repeatedly make conversations, repeatedly give the same forms again and again, filling up the same things, and people would say, oh, but we didn't get it. So there was no way in which citizens would be able to hold the people accountable. But post 2014, what has changed? So something which has changed is, I can start with Aadhaar, where a unique identification got all the people who were resident in the country get a number, a unique identity number. And with that, we started direct benefits transfers scheme, in which I was involved. And I think, in that sense, I have lived the purpose of my life by doing direct benefits transfers, because I thought that this was the purpose for which I got into public service. And so direct benefit transfer scheme actually brought about the beneficiaries with the schemes and tried to ensure that they got timely their whatever cash benefits were to be rolled out for them. It was a just in time kind of a thing. It cut layers of bureaucracy. For example, when I started analyzing how much time and how many layers does a scholarship fund has to move through to reach to the real beneficiary, I found that there were, say, 13 layers. So, for example, Government of India would sanction this budget. That particular ministry, Ministry of Social and Justice, would earmark these funds, and the funds would be released to the states. The state would also be adding some share of themselves, but it would then rest with the finance department of the state. From there on, it would then be sent to the, say, for example, the scheduled caste or scheduled tribes corporation, or disabled peoples, or OBC, or whoever was getting the scholarship. And from there, it would be then sent to the districts. So the district collectors would get it. Then from their treasury, it would be sent to the principals of the colleges or schools. And all this took about a year or two for the scholarships to reach the beneficiaries. So the beneficiaries would not only, wait for their scholarships to arrive, but they would also, if they were to buy books, or they were to use this money for paying rentals or some such thing, that money was not available at that point of time. So this is how things were inefficient, and there was, a time lag in every scheme, whether it was pensions, whether it was any other thing. It has also reduced the petty corruption to a large extent, because it was able to identify ghost beneficiaries in the system. And these ghost beneficiaries just didn't exist. They were the creations of a very, very corrupt system. And people were simply taking scholarships in in the name of these ghost beneficiaries. Today, if the eligible beneficiary fills up his forms and is otherwise eligible, these benefits transfer directly into his account. And we've seen it, how it has not only reduced petty corruption, it has also enhanced the savings in the government. You would not believe that today, with the direct benefits transfer, we are able to save, say, more than 1 lakh crore rupees every year, simply because this money is now getting directly targeted to the beneficiaries, and the leakage in the system has been completely curtailed. There is another important issue, which is about the data sharing across the departments. Now, this is so important because, for example, I'll just give you an example. When I was collector in Jamshedpur, that was the time when I started, I was reviewing, say, the vaccination program in the health department. And the vaccination said that, for example, 100 vials of the vaccine were received for such and such thing, and 80 were spent. Similarly, for, say, for example, the BCG, 100 vials were received and 75 were spent. When I asked the civil surgeon to whom have they been given, he had no idea. Then I asked him that within 2 years of any child, at least 6 inoculations need to be done. Otherwise, he will die of any one of the vaccines which was left. So what is the point? So if we are inoculating, say for example, 5 vaccines to a child, but he could not be given the tetanus one, then he will die with tetanus, or he will die with diphtheria if that was not given to him. And the civil surgeon simply said that no, but this is not how we monitor. But I said, then what is the point? There will be mortality happening. The child mortality will continue to be very high. So you can see how disengaged the whole system was with the outcomes. So the civil surgeon only thought that it was his duty was only to provide figures for spending, and that's about it. The direct benefits transfer or the use of technology that we finally did. Today, we are able to find out who is the child who was born today, for example, and within 2 years, what all inoculations he needs to be given. So there will be reminders to this child. The child may be, maybe his mother was in Bengal. Maybe he was born in, say, Birbhum. But if he is, his father is residing in Jamshedpur, it does not matter, because even the state boundaries have been dissolved by use of technology. So this is very, very important for all of our beneficiary oriented schemes, that in 2 years time, not only this child will be tracked for ensuring whether he is having all the vaccinations done, he will also be at 6 years of age, or say when he's 3, and if he belongs to a BPL category, he will be reminded for getting his admission to an Anganwadi center, and thereafter his admission to a regular primary school. So in this way, we are making sure that every child, whatever he is entitled to, gets what he must at the age that he should, and that nobody should be missed. So these are some of the benefits of direct benefit transfer scheme. I hope I'm not overshooting my time. Kaushik?
No, ma'am, we are on track.
All right, all right. So these direct, I have just maybe one or two, a couple of slides left, and then I can go for question and answers. So with the direct benefit schemes, we were not only able to take up the subsidies, better targeting of the subsidies, but we could also take up the entitlements and the cash transfers. So for example, even when I was collector in Jamshedpur, I was also getting a subsidized gas cylinder because we had no idea. We did not know how to unbundle the rich from the poor. But with the direct benefit schemes, we were able to push subsidies only to those people who were entitled to it. So we started direct benefits transfer scheme in the gas cylinder and in the kerosene oil and other things. And then, of course, we've done wonderfully well in scholarships and pensions, in Manrega wages, in social pensions to unemployed and women, widows, or disabled. And then in other cash transfers, for example, food coupons. Today in Chandigarh, we do not have any PDS shops. So the poor is actually taking the cash, direct cash for the public distribution, in lieu of that food. So in a way, it has not only saved government the money to maintain this very heavy bureaucracy, wherein commissions were given to the ration shopkeepers, to the layers of supervisors, to the layers of the Food Corporation of India and things like that. Now the poor can if they choose, they can directly avail of food coupons. So he may be getting, for example, rice in Chandigarh, which may not be very costly, but he can buy maybe eggs, maybe he can buy fruits, maybe he can buy whatever as per his needs. So such cash transfers were only possible by using a technology, by identifying the beneficiary very, very uniquely, and by ensuring that only the intended needs to be given this transaction. Similarly, the Janani Suraksha Yojana, which is basically was incentivizing the pregnant women to visit for institutional deliveries. Now, when I was health secretary in Jharkhand, and when we started in 2006, that was I was director NRHM, and I was shocked to see that only 17% institutional deliveries happened in Jharkhand at that point of time. Even when the incentives were given, they were being taken away by the husbands, or sometimes by dalals who were working. Sometimes the beneficiary, the pregnant lady, would not even know that these were some of her entitlements. But today, because all the beneficiaries were supposed to not only be covered with Aadhaar, with their unique identity mark, their numbers, but also with bank accounts, that it has now been possible for the lady to know that the Janani Suraksha Yojana benefits will come only in her account. And this has facilitated the institutional delivery, and it has also saved maternal mortality. So today in Jharkhand, the institutional deliveries are past 70%, which is so very, satisfying, very, very satisfying. And this has happened. It has not taken somebody's lifetime. So that is what is the satisfaction, that we've been able to do it very, very fast. And we are even better than Bihar. So in a way, when this state was carved out of Bihar, many more skilled and much, high professionals were working in Bihar. But today, I take pride in the fact that Jharkhand health department has actually done so much good, and we are one of the best ranking states in the country. And I'm sure both not only the maternal mortality rates have been reduced, also the child mortality rates have come down. And I think in times to come, maybe we are as good as, say, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, which are one of the best states. So these were the impacts that we have been able to create with the direct benefits transfer scheme. So while this is the citizen-centric, the other important thing is, so far we have been talking about how the poor and the needy, how they were targeted with the direct benefits transfer scheme. Now, this is a single window system. This is for the rest of the citizens. So, for example, if we have to take for our businesses or for our manufacturing units to be set up, if we have several, say, administrative approvals to be taken from different departments, it could be labor, it could be environment, it could be electricity, it could be commercial tax, it could be so many other, industry department and things like that. So this single window system today actually helps people in easing their way out and reducing the physical, the need to physically be chasing their applications all over the town, or maybe sometimes all over other states or even the central government. So this intervention is also extremely crucial today. And by use of technology, we've been able to create systems where we can track and get updated status of our applications. It can also remind us for certain renewals. It can also facilitate for amendments like additions and deletions, or if we have shifted. So today you have in India about 75,000 unicorns, so many startups, and virtually our MSME sector is buzzing with activity. These are those people who may not have any, say, degree or diploma in business management, but these are the self-help group women. These are the very small businesses who are also who have started using technology, and they are able to leverage the benefits of a single window system in ensuring that their products reach the best markets and the products get the best prices. So it is actually bringing a silent revolution in our country, where we thought that most people are only hankering for a government job. So this is changing the scenario in a very big way. And since we share, in consumer affairs, uh, a common minister with the Department of Commerce, the Department of Promotion of Internal Trade, which is DPIIT, and Department of Textiles. I am witness to the kind of work that is being done to not only promote industries, not only promote local manufacturers, but also to make sure that they do not face any difficulty. In fact, from the consumer affairs, I have been also having, for the past 1 year, a lot of meetings with stakeholders to reduce compliance burden. Say, for example, in Legal Metrology Act or Legal Metrology Packaging of Commodities rules, or in the Consumer Protection Rule, or in the e-commerce rules that we have drafted, the Consumer Protection Direct Selling rules that we have just notified 3 months back. So we are actually interacting very, very frequently with the stakeholders, whether they are the industries or whether they are the consumer bodies, to make sure that uh, doing their businesses in India is becoming hassle-free. It has, wherever there are possibilities of any corruption, we are also trying to see that no such things happen. And the young people who are, if they are thinking of starting up, or if they are thinking of, making, or they are thinking of a business idea where a local product needs to be marketed or needs to be brought to the national platform, we are trying to engage with all such people, and we are trying to help in building the basics of our nation. The last part of use of technology has been in the grievance redressal, because ultimately a good administration can only be possible if the grievance redressal is equally meaningful, responsive, and quick. So you can see that several states and virtually all the ministries, all the departments have come out with a helpline. So for example, you have a national emergency number, a police helpline, a fire helpline, medical helpline for ambulances, or road accident emergency service on national highways, which is 1033, cyber fraud helpline, which is 1930, women helpline 1091, railway inquiry 139, children in difficult times 10898. So these are the helplines for the ministries, for the states who are serving the public. Then there are grievance redressal for the consumers. which currently I'm looking after. And these consumers means all of us at the end of the day are consumers. So we are consumers of some goods or some services. And any complaint that we receive from any corner of the country, we have a national consumer helpline whose toll-free number 14404. It can be reached through website, through apps, through the portal number, any such thing. What we try is to have pre-litigation stage of disputes redressal. So what we are basically ensuring is that a consumer who's today, the whole world of marketing has changed. So now more and more complaints that we are receiving are from e-commerce sector. So about 36% of all our complaints are related to the e-commerce sector. And the divide between men and women, rural and urban, everything has changed with the e-commerce growing up. So what we try is, instead of each consumer reaching to some litigation stage, we are trying to help redress the disputes at a pre-litigation stage. But we also have created a system of online disputes redressal, where you need not have to go to a consumer commission. You can, from the leisure of sitting at your home, you can approach the consumer commissions through e-court, through e-filing, and you can simply upload your grievance, and your disputes will be sorted out. Now, for people who may be thinking that this cannot be possible, I can give you some examples from, say, backward districts like Mainpuri in UP and Sitamarhi in Bihar, who have already started, disposing cases in the favor of consumers through e-courts and e-filing, which means even hearing is being done through video conferencing. And I can also say that since I am the first Chief Commissioner of Central Consumer Protection Authority, I have conducted all my hearings on video conference. I have got disposed of, say, several cases. We have about 80 running cases, wherein this authority takes cognizance of misleading advertisements, unfair trade practices, or cases of violation of consumer rights. So whenever we are, we think, or say we are satisfied that a particular case is fit for a class action, then such cases are in a suo motu bid. We have started issuing notices, and I'm sure you must have heard about some of the important companies who have been slapped with a penalty of 10 lakhs. Although I would not like to name them, but if it is a closed door thing, maybe you must have heard about how Sensodyne and Naptol have been penalized with 10 lakh fine, and they have been asked to discontinue their misleading advertisements because they were actually affecting people on a scale. So this is what I had for you all. There was also a comment where people wanted to know about what is the difference between a public service and a private service. I'm not sure. It's a very cliched answer. I don't want to get into it. It all depends on your call. Public service is a service. It's not a job. And you do, if you feel, very positively and very, very, emotionally to your, say, country, it is not well-being. That's a matter of fact. But it is satisfying in many other ways. And I have no regrets, so to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I believe we can go ahead with the Q&A session now. So I request people, those who have questions, to please raise their hand. Pratyusha, please go ahead with the question.
Yeah, thanks, Kaushik. Good morning, ma'am. First of all, I would like to say that it's an absolute privilege for me to having you here and to getting an opportunity to interact with you, because I've heard you once while I was in school, and you were our chief guest during a Republic Day. So,
Okay,
yeah.
good to
And
know that.
actually, I'm from Jamshedpur, and
Okay.
yeah, and you were our chief guest. So again, having interact with you here, it's a really nostalgic moment for me. So,
So
ma'am,
I have people of Jamshedpur, and Jamshedpur as a very, very special place. I hold them in very high regards.
true, ma'am. For us also, when you were our DC, we really looked up to you. And I remember my mother, she told me that you need to be like her when you were like you came to our school. So, ma'am, I have a question for you. That during your period in Jamshedpur, so what were the difficulties you faced while implementing the policies, and how did you overcome that?
All right, a very good question, Pratyusha, and thanks for asking that. One thing which I have felt all across my other postings also is that first of all in Bihar and also in Jharkhand, uh, there were never any issues, so to say, of a woman working. So never ever I have encountered any such thing. And I am really grateful from the bottom of my heart to the people who were illiterate, not very rich, not very, not educated, to be so generous in their, say, in their assessment. So one is that I have not faced any difficulty on account of being a so-called woman officer. But what is the difficulty? You see, the major difficulty which I found was in the change management. In Jamshedpur, as was also read in my biodata, that we were trying um, to go in for Swachhata, for the complete cleanliness in the villages, how to construct toilets, how to construct toilets in the government schools. And because of which, the girl students started dropping out when they were, in their puberty, or they were faced with, say, menstruation and such other things. So this was a reality. The other reality was that when I started, campaigning for, toilets in every village, I found that people were not eager, you know. So what I did was I went for a baseline survey. I, there was a questionnaire prepared, and people wanted to, and I just wanted to know, okay, what is their first three things which they want in the village. So when I gathered the entire information, to my horror, building of toilets was nowhere in anybody's priority, neither men nor women. Nobody said we wanted a toilet. So it was not a difficulty, I would say. It was just, a challenge. How to create, uh, so to say, a market, a demand for toilets, how to tell people that it is so important, not only for their sanitation purposes, but for other things also. So one of these days, when I was looking through the FIRs of which were filed, in the office of the superintendent of police, I I mean, I encountered that, most of the cases of women assault were actually when they were going out either very early in the morning or very late in the night, and women were tracked or they were assaulted. And then I changed the theme of, why I want people to adopt toilets by bringing the dignity of women into the center stage. And when we started with Nukkad Nataks, and when the center theme was now dignity of women, suddenly I found there was a surge of demand. Now women, daughters, young, say daughters-in-law, they were all wanting, toilets in their household. But at that point of time, I was, I think, in 2000, in Jamshedpur, 2002, 2003. So at that point of time, there was hardly any support from the department or from the state. And I was virtually all alone, but I still, went about my business. And that is how Jamshedpur villages got the first ODF, certificate at that point of time.
Thank you, ma'am. We were lucky to have you as our DC, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I request Nishant to please go ahead with the question.
Thank you, Kaushik. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for the session. My question is, ma'am, as you have mentioned, India is in the 75th year of independence, and India as a nation is set lots of ambitious development program to eliminate poverty. But if we consider the 2021 Niti Aayog report on multidimensional poverty index, many major states were having the high rate of poverty. So, ma'am, my question is, what are the administrative difficulty is having in these states to implement the development policy driven by government of India?
Okay, very good question. So first of all, as you would, can realize that poverty is not a linear, only a 1-2 kind of a thing, but it is actually a multidimensional problem. And when I said about, of course, we lost 2 years in COVID pandemic, because of which the priorities of the government was to save the people. So even for the public, we stopped from our businesses. We so many people left, whatever they were doing, and came back to their villages. So there was a disruption, a very huge disruption, and this is not just in India but also across the entire global economy. Now the how we can address is, we definitely have to see that for example, for a poor person, there are several schemes across different say ministries or different departments. Does the poor person know that he is entitled to, say for example, 16 benefits? He may not know. He may only know that, okay, I may get some ration, a free ration through a ration card. But if we are able to, through the use of technology, come to this point where we must be able to help the poor person in every way, which way. So it could be health, it could be education for his family, it could be support of skill to his grown-up children who are ready to join the workforce. If there is, his older parents, if they can be also given pensionary benefits, if he can be given, some kind of a house, if he can be given loans, if he has land and if he works as a farmer. So some such thing we are doing so that the multidimensional poverty can be taken care of and the family can be taken out of the below poverty line. And this is the shortest way in which government can address the poverty alleviation, the schemes. And we can actually help people in coming out from poverty.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Prateek to please go ahead with your question.
Thanks, Kaushik. Hello, ma'am. Very good afternoon. Thank you for the session. Ma'am, my question is to you is like, how does the bureaucracy engage with various stakeholders in order to solve wicked problems like rampant corruption, where it is very difficult to motivate people to not take that path?
So one is that, we can develop, a certain value system in our children, in our in the entire society, including the bureaucrats who are working in different positions. to ensure that they do not take bribes. So one is a way of, also coming down very heavily against people who are found in such corrupt ways, and dismissing them from service. And I must tell you that, I was also the personal secretary in Jharkhand, and I have taken some very hard decisions against those bureaucrats who were found to be involved in corruption cases. However, I would still say that, it all then falls onto the individual judgments, whether I can or I shouldn't, so what is important is, can we have a much more robust system which simply prevents people from even thinking about, engaging with in any malpractices? And that, I feel, is greater transparency can provide all this, which means that if, for example, if you have to, and I'm giving you an example from my own department, where there is we are administrating an act called Legal Metrology Act. So for those people who are not familiar with this, any measure or any weight is actually, it requires, to be verified and certified by these legal metrology inspectors. And this is on a regular basis. No economy can work without legal metrology, right? For example, if you buy a packet of, say, 1 liter of milk, whether that packet has 1 liter or not, so, the entire milk plant, which is doing the packages, has to adhere to a certain compliance level, so that individual consumers are not harassed every morning, and they are kind of measuring each packet whether this is 1 liter or not, right? So what we have done is that we have introduced a whole end-to-end online system, wherein a model, somebody who is actually having these machines which measure the quality, their models are getting approved. So they need to apply online. It is a human or say faceless say interaction. The computer itself answers. It allows you, say, 15 days for you to submit your model, and then the model has to get approved within, say, 7 days. If it has not been approved, then that reason has to be given. In many cases, for example, we are also handling the BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standards, the labs of which are required to give license for ISI mark products. Again, this is an end-to-end use of technology has been done so that it is completely automated, and any say malpractice done by any of these BIS employees is completely reduced to the minimal. So I think transparency in the systems will bring in greater accountability to the people, and will also minimize the tendency of corruption in the systems.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Pulkit to please go ahead with it.
Thanks, Kaushik. Very good afternoon, ma'am. First, I'd like to thank you for taking out your precious time on a Sunday afternoon and enlightening us with the session. Now, I have a couple of questions. So, in this session, you talked about minimum government and maximum governance. So, what were the major problems you faced dealing with state and central government stakeholders with in the various posts you have held throughout the career?
See, earlier what used to happen was, as I said in one of my slides also, a very heavy bureaucracy was there, which meant that for everything you had to visit at least 7 desks, right? Now with use of technology, all that has been lost. So you do not know, for example, who is the person who is actually processing your application. Similarly, the other person also does not know. For example, you'll be, I mean, these days, I think even the income tax people, I mean, when you file your income tax, the assessee does not know where this person actually lives. And similarly, the income tax, the person who's actually filling it does not know where it is going. So what has happened is the anonymity inside the data, and by use of technology, has actually reduced any chances of this conversation, where a person would come to know that, okay, you can pay 100 rupees for this, or you can pay 500 rupees for this. So those levels have been completely anonymized, and it has I mean, increasingly we are given to the faceless processing of applications. Now, you asked about the difficulties that center and state have. See, sometimes it can be political, then it is a little difficult. But in most states, we do not find any difficulty actually, because as I said, in the beginning also, that while political leadership has to go every 5 years and seek mandate, the public administration remains. And that is why one of the duties is also to ensure that in a democracy, the transaction or the transition is also seamless and without any major disruption. So the schemes go ahead, the plans go ahead, the funds which have been booked to the states, they will remain, I mean, they'll go as usual. What I meant to say was, because, and that is how, I'm sure today I'm in the public service, but before I joined public service, did it really matter who became whom, because things were in the same way. There was a stratum which was rock solid, which ensured that there is minimum disruption to services.
Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am. I request Raj to please go ahead with the question.
Thank you, Kaushik. Good afternoon, ma'am. It's a privilege and honor to hear you. My question is regarding the education sector. We have seen that people basically holding power in political systems have invested into private schools and private healthcare systems, which has also been a contributing factor where the poor quality of education has been there as compared to the private sector. So you also talked about how technology has helped the people in poor with the direct cash transfers, and now the online education systems has come in. So how do you think the public education system can use this technology of online education and increase the quality into the public infrastructure?
Yeah, again, a very good question. There was a time when teachers who were posted in very far-flung areas would not go, would not teach, and many times, that is how the public education actually suffered, and it gave rise to many of the private institutions, and at a very huge cost to the people, I must say. But nonetheless, with the advent of technology, today we can actually reduce this divide and use more and more, say, edutech material, or say educational technical material, and use of say smart classes, use of or maybe even I would say, engaging with, say, ex-IITians for doing, specific classes for the village level students. This is also bringing a lot of, revolutionary change in the way our education system has been. Also, with the advent of internet, a lot of things can be also perused by students, and this is also widening their worldview, and they are able to know many things, and they can tap many things from say the experts directly. There was a time when even school books or say library books were a challenge. It was difficult to maintain library. It was difficult to say to reach out to every child and distribute the school books, the usual curriculum books. And I'm sure you would be familiar where the government books used to reach 6 months after the classes had begun. Most of the students were required to take it from their senior, say, students, because without which it was difficult to read. Today, all those things have experienced, reversal in their trends. So something which I said in my presentation also, this just-in-time kind of a concept, where if you are reading an NCERT book, for example, you can simply go to the internet and download or say find, those chapters. So even if the book is not in your hand, at least the accessibility to the book is there because of the internet. So I think this is going to be the fastest, say, leveler, a social leveler in many ways than one.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Piyush, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. So I was wondering about the education system that Raj had mentioned, right? And I was also thinking about on a larger level, maybe the rural-urban problem within India. I think you also mentioned the imbalance within the country, right? And a lot of people from the rural areas have to move to urban areas just for a livelihood often. And even in urban areas, they're not really living a great life. They're not living a better quality of life. It's just that even for your basic amenities, they're having to kind of move into urban areas. And somewhere along the line, as this continues, the concentration of population in urban areas is going to grow. So the governments are kind of forced to spend there more. And it's almost like the resource allocation has to happen there because you have a population there. But at the same time, so how do you manage this? This is one question that I had. And how do you potentially say try to correct this imbalance at a policy level?
So if you have an overview of all the developed countries, you'll see that most of their population has migrated to the cities, say about 30, 40 years back. In India, we are still in a continuum, and we still have, many people living in the rural areas, and that is why there is a need to, distribute the already scarce resource everywhere. And that is how you see not one country not one city in our country can be said to be boasting world-class infrastructure for its residents. I mean, I'm saying this, even if you are, say, earning 2 crores a month, you get to have the same, I mean, say, laggard standards in living. So that is an imbalance. If you are in an IT company living in Bangalore, I don't see whether even earning, say, 1 crore of rupee every month makes you live better or in a better condition. It's hardly there. You don't count the Italian marble on the floor to be, the basis of the infrastructure improvement, right? What I mean from infrastructure improvement is, can we have better transit to the, to the workplace? Can we have better, safer, places for everybody, which includes older people, which includes disabled people, which includes women who can work at night, come home, at night without any fear. It also requires, green spaces where people can, take time off and retire to, read a storybook outside or some such thing. So sadly, we are at a juncture where even the richer people are unable to say whether they are actually having a good quality of life. And that's a reality. What we need to therefore focus on is the infrastructure. And you would, in my slide, you would have seen that one of the first, I think it was the first point in my slide where I have shown that we have to come up with a world-class infrastructure. Now, how do we balance between urban and rural divide is, if I want to be a little funny, I can say that, okay, democracy may, you will get the money from where you get your votes, okay? But it's not really funny. It's basically, I mean, you have to ensure that not everything can the government do. So which means that for such infrastructure, there is a requirement for private investment, private players also. And the private players should not think that they can get away with any nonsensical kind of a structure. Every day we are hearing how the multi-storied buildings are collapsing. There are, say, the builders have, only to maximize their profits, have not built in safety measures, and which is something very, very unfortunate. But I think the stakeholders, the private players in the market have to, start thinking of their responsibilities and building better infrastructures. See, we have done it in the national highways. You see the kind of today the road lengths in our country has grown phenomenally well, right? So even in the, I mean, the Northeast region, for example, has now been connected. The mountainous regions in our country, all over the border areas, everything has been now connected. This was phenomenal. So if we can do it in the surface transport area, or even in the railway, even in the railways, I mean, where I think all the railway lines have now got electrical. So we have to actually work very hard in this sector.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So I believe these are all the questions we have for you today. So shall we conclude the session? So I'd like to give a short vote of thanks.
So I have a question for all of you.
Oh, that's
How many of you are interested, in a government job, and how many of you are interested in the whether you are thinking about starting your own startups? Yeah, Pratyusha, Piyush. So I can't see, I mean, I can't make out who, I can see many hands, but so what is the preference? What is the young generation thinking of?
Pratyusha, please go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, I would like to say that I'm really interested in public job, and I've also already given UPSC. I've given 2-3 attempts, but yeah, I couldn't clear that, and then I joined XLRI. So my first preference obviously is serving my country, and if not, then doing something in a corporate sector also, so that I can be useful to my country.
Great, great. Piyush?
So, ma'am, previously I was in Teach for India, and I was in the non-profit education space for 5 years. So, going forward, I would like to work on similar grounds in the education space. If there is an opportunity with the government, great. But otherwise, I would also like to kind of maybe look into my own startup, or address a need, address a gap that is there.
Very true. Very true. Mr. Raj?
Ma'am, I also want to start my own startup. I was actually in 2 startups before. where I worked in the healthcare industries and an edtech industry before coming into XLRI. So I have a little understanding of, how the edtech industry is basically in the ECCI segments work. And going forward, I do see there is a lot of opportunities which can be, taken it up regarding the penetration of the, online education into the rural areas and the tier 3 cities.
Absolutely.
So I am interested into that and want to go ahead with this.
Excellent. This is sometimes I really envy with you people, your generation people, because India is, is remarkably moving ahead at such a breakneck speed today in every sector. It's not just, I have failed to recognize even one sector which is not, active and, jumping around. So it is something, as a young generation, you must be able to, gauge, of course, your talent and, assess what exactly you want to contribute in. And you will not fail. This is something which is, it is not, it wasn't there in our times. And in my parents' time, it was even more frustrating. So I feel that, you people are blessed because today you have everyone looking to, to serve you, to try to see how we can, we can provide better service to you in realizing your dreams. So my best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So, I hope everyone thoroughly enjoyed today's insightful session. It's my honor and privilege to give this vote of thanks to our honorable speaker, Ms. Nidhi Khare. We are thoroughly enriched in knowing about your reason to join public services, the design principles to reach vision, leveraging technology to accurately implement schemes, nuances of direct benefits transfer scheme, single window system for administrative approval, and finally the grievance redressal. And thank you for also an elaborate Q&A session where you gave insightful answers for each and every question. It has been an absolute honor to host you this afternoon. I, on behalf of Experience Batch of 22, would like to sincerely thank you for your time and wish you a great day.
Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed. Thanks very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.